The pace of change in AI is absolutely staggering right now. I mean, it feels like just yesterday we were maybe using a chatbot to write a quick email, and now
Now it's different.
we're diving into a world of genuinely autonomous agents. Systems designed not just to give you information, but to act.
Yeah, and that shift from AI as just a sophisticated tool to AI as an agent, that's fundamental.
Right.
It moves AI from being something purely computational, just spitting out text or images, to something that can actively participate in the digital world and increasingly the physical world too.
It totally changes the questions we need to ask, doesn't it?
Completely.
Exactly. And understanding this cutting edge, what it means for governments, for cities, for industries, and fundamentally for you, that's really the mission for this deep dive.
Hmm.
We've taken a stack of sources, primarily pulling insights from the GITEX Europe 2025 special issue of AI.MAG, and our goal is to unpack them together.
Sort of pull out the most important nuggets.
Yeah, and help you get a handle on what's really significant in this incredibly fast-moving field. We want to give you that shortcut to being well-informed, maybe spark a few aha moments along the way. And these sources, they paint a picture of transformation that's, well, it's already happening. It's not just theory anymore.
Okay, so let's unpack this transformation. A good place to start seems to be this case study that really jumps out from the sources. Dubai. It's presented as like a prime example of digital transformation and AI adoption moving at a really remarkable speed. What did you find notable about their approach?
Well, what really stands out is the clear vision and the centralized drive behind it. The material highlights leaders like Yunus Al Nasser at the Dubai Digital Authority
Okay.
and Sarah Al-Zaruni focusing specifically on data. They've apparently been key in shaping initiatives like the Dubai Data Initiative
Right.
and launching Dubai Pulse, which the sources describe as the region's first really comprehensive data platform.
Over 1,200 data sets, I saw that. That's a massive foundation. Exactly. And having that foundation is clearly critical for everything else they're building on top of it.
And you absolutely see the impact of that foundation in the citizen-facing services they've built. The Dubai Now app, for instance.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Well, the sources detail that it bundles over 280 services from 44 different authorities into one place. I mean, think about that.
Wow.
You can pay traffic fines, parking, utilities, even buy car insurance or transport tickets, all from a single app.
That level of integration is, well, it's a huge leap in simplifying how you interact with government.
Definitely.
And this digital infrastructure isn't just about making things easier, is it? It's explicitly tied to these massive economic goals.
Yeah, the numbers are big.
We see Dubai aiming for a cumulative economic contribution from AI exceeding, what was it, 58 billion by 2030.
Right, and supporting a national target of AI contributing 14% to GDP by the end of the century. That's ambitious.
Very. And the Dubai Artificial Intelligence General Blueprint they unveiled in April 2024 seems to be the strategic backbone for this whole push.
It's quite a striking comparison the sources draw here, too. You have Dubai's population just exploding like under 250,000 in 1980 to nearly 4 million now.
That's incredible growth.
Alongside this incredibly rapid digital journey, essentially completing its e-government development. And then they contrast this pace with some of the challenges mentioned in, say, a German context. Things like a perceived lag in digitalization, maybe some public resistance to things like digital patient records.
Or even just the time it takes to set up a dedicated digital ministry.
Exactly. So what does that comparison tell us based on these sources?
Well, it suggests that while, different places have different hurdles, having a unified strategy and strong political size will seem to be pretty significant accelerators.
Makes sense.
The material also touches briefly on educational readiness. It notes Dubai's training initiatives for government employees.
The 700-plus trained staff, yeah.
Right. And contrast that with a critique mentioned in the sources about traditional German education, suggesting it might not fully foster the kind of collaborative, creative problem-solving needed for this AI-driven world.
So it's strategy, will, and skills development.
Seems to be the package highlighted.
Okay, now here's where, for me, it gets really interesting. Let's trace this evolution of how we actually interact with AI itself. The sources detail this rapid progression from just, prompting models to building systems that can essentially think and act on their own. How did that journey start?
Well, it really kicked off with prompt engineering. As the material explains it, that was the initial phase of just figuring out how to talk to these new large language models, the LLMs.
Learning the lingo.
Pretty much, yeah. It
Yeah.
was about learning this new language, how to be precise, how to be clear, give enough context to get useful responses back.
Right, like learning the right way to ask a question to get the best answer from a super powerful, but maybe very literal expert.
That's a great way to put it. Very literal is key.
Okay, so we mastered talking to the AI, more or less. What came next, according to these sources?
Meta prompting, which sounds a bit academic, but it's actually fascinating. This is where AI started to help us craft better instructions for other AIs.
Ah, okay, so you use one AI to help you write a better prompt for another AI.
Exactly. You use one language model to refine the prompt you'll give to another. The sources describe this as an example of techno-circularity.
Okay.
This historical pattern where technology is used to improve itself or related tech,
Yeah.
like using iron to build better ironworks tools or writing laws to set up systems for creating new laws.
Gotcha. So it's AI helping us get better at using AI. Clever.
Yeah, and that seems to have paved the way for something truly pivotal, chain of thought, CoT,
Right, Coty. I've heard a lot about that.
and for good reason. The sources really emphasized CoT as a breakthrough because it gave models a way to, well, think through problems step by step.
Instead of just jumping to an answer.
Precisely. Instead of just giving the final answer, they could show their reasoning, break down complex tasks into smaller, manageable steps. The material uses this great analogy,
Yeah.
comparing these early CoT methods to having like a lump of clay and a reed stylus.
Okay, primitive tools.
Right, rough, rudimentary tools.
Mm.
But just like those early tools enabled fundamental societal changes, like, say, effective taxation,
Mm-hmm.
CoT enabled these LLMs to handle complex, multi-step problems far, far better than they could before. It was a game changer.
And all of this, the prompting, the meta prompting, the chain of thought, it all builds to that fundamental shift you mentioned right at the start, AI agents.
Exactly. This is where AI moves from answering questions to actually taking action.
That's the core difference.
That is a key transition highlighted in the sources. An AI agent isn't just, spitting out text based on prompt. It's designed to take input and autonomously perform actions to achieve a specific goal,
And it can interact with other systems?
often by using APIs, yes. It's the move from what can AI tell us to what can AI do for us.
That's a powerful framing.
It is. And the material quotes Sam Altman saying, AI agents are poised to become AI's killer function.
Wow. Killer function.
And the economic projection they cite is just staggering.
Hmm.
The agentic economy, they call it, expected to surge from $31 billion in 2024
Which is already a lot.
to $368 billion by 2033.
That's exponential growth. Mind-blowing.
It really is. And the latest iteration on this, according to the sources, agent swarms.
Agent swarms. Okay, what are those?
Think of it like a team. Instead of one agent trying to do a complex task.
You have specialists.
Exactly. You have multiple specialized agents that communicate, coordinate, and collaborate
Mhm.
to tackle larger, more complex problems together. They even mention platforms like Thinkable being built specifically to help create and manage these swarms.
So it's AI teamwork.
Pretty much. It really shows how quickly the whole concept of AI is evolving, from just a single interaction point to these sophisticated autonomous systems working in concert.
So, okay, AI agents. Proactive, purpose-driven. Let's look at how these sources show this transforming governments and cities. We can loop back to Dubai again, as it seems to be a key example here.
Definitely. And the market projections alone tell a big part of the story.
They're pretty telling, yeah.
The global market for AI agents is projected to grow from, what, 5.1 billion this year
Uh-huh.
to over 47 billion by 2030. That's a compound annual growth rate of nearly 45%.
45%. That's huge demand.
It is, and there's a Capgemini study cited that finds, okay, well, only 10% of organizations use agents now.
Which seems low, actually.
It does, but listen to this. A massive 82% plan to adopt them within the next 3 years.
82%. Okay, so the floodgates are about to open.
That certainly signals huge expected uptake for tasks like data analysis, content generation, complex automation.
And Dubai, being ahead in digital transformation generally, is clearly leaning into this agent trend.
Very much so. The foundations they laid with their universal blueprint for AI back in 2024 and the Dubai Center for AI, these are enabling this shift.
They've already identified over 100 AI agent use cases.
Across more than 50 government entities, yes. That's what the sources say.
And that Dubai State of AI report backs this up.
It does. It states 96% of their government entities have adopted at least one AI solution already.
96%. So it's widespread.
And importantly, these aren't just theoretical applications. They cover everything from public safety and infrastructure management to automating document processes and managing smart energy grids.
And this links back to the training you mentioned earlier.
Absolutely. Those 700-plus government employees trained in AI competencies,
Yeah.
that's directly connected to making this operational shift happen. You need people who understand how to use these tools.
So what kind of proactive services do the sources suggest these agents could actually enable? Can you give us some concrete examples?
Yeah, the material gives some compelling examples of what an AI agent might do for you as a citizen proactively. Imagine, say, your trade license just automatically renewing without you having to fill out forms.
That would be nice.
Or the system flagging anomalies in your water usage, maybe suggesting a leak before you even get a huge bill.
Smart.
Or maybe an agent recommending preventative healthcare actions, like a screening, specifically aligned to your personal health profile and even your schedule.
Wow. That's personalized.
The key idea is they're designed to act proactively within defined ethical and operational guidelines, of course,
Right. Crucial point.
to improve your life and your interactions with government services.
And the big tangible example of this already in action, as highlighted in the sources, is Dubai AI.
Exactly. Dubai AI is presented as this prime, real-world example of an AI agent framework doing its thing.
What does it do?
It's the official government assistant launched just this year. It offers over 180 digital services in English and Arabic, available 24/7.
Across different channels.
Yep, web, mobile, even WhatsApp. And importantly, it's built on local LLMs with a big focus on security, citizen trust, inclusion, and data privacy from the ground up.
So not just tacked on later.
No. And the sources call it one of the most advanced government-facing AI applications globally. What makes it stand out is its ability to integrate in real time with back-end systems to actually perform tasks, not just give you information or links.
That's the agent part doing things.
That's the agent part.
Now, contrasting this speed and operational scale in Dubai, the sources again look towards the European context.
Right.
We have the EU AI Act, which is a huge step in regulation, setting a global standard in many ways.
Definitely a leader on the regulatory front.
But the sources suggest implementation across member states is still a bit fragmented.
That's the picture painted. A European Commission report is cited noting only about 26% of public sector organizations in the EU show high AI maturity.
Only a quarter.
And maybe even more strikingly, fewer than 1 in 5 cities are using AI to actively support municipal services.
So lots of potential, but not yet widely operationalized in the same way.
It seems so. While there are definitely promising pilot projects happening in places like Germany, Finland, Estonia, the sources suggest they're often still grappling with foundational questions around governance and how to scale these things up effectively.
So looking at this contrast, what's the key takeaway the sources offer regarding Dubai's approach? What's the lesson there?
Well, the material suggests Dubai provides a model that manages to balance rapid innovation with regulatory foresight.
Doing both at once.
Yeah, they're not waiting.
Yeah.
They seem to be deploying agents to deliver services now while simultaneously establishing policies designed to protect rights, build citizen trust, and ensure ethical use.
So responsible AI isn't seen as a break.
Not according to this view. It's presented more as part of the mechanism to accelerate AI adoption effectively and sustainably, especially at scale.
And that focus on ethics and governance is it's absolutely critical as AI becomes more autonomous.
Couldn't be more critical.
The sources explicitly state Dubai's strategy is guided by 3 pillars: innovation, integration, and crucially, ethics. How are they actually embedding that third pillar? It's easy to say ethics.
True. Well, they've introduced the Dubai AI policy just this year, described as a future-ready framework.
Okay, what's in it?
Their focus is on key areas like algorithmic transparency. So, trying to understand how the AI makes decisions.
The black box problem.
Exactly. Plus bias mitigation, managing risks associated with AI, and ensuring inclusion, making sure it benefits everyone. And it builds on work they apparently started back in 2019 with an ethical AI toolkit.
Okay, so it's been developing for a while. But the key point the sources seem to make here is that these aren't just guidelines sitting on a shelf somewhere.
Precisely. The argument is that this commitment to ethics and governance is built directly into how they actually procure, deploy, and evaluate AI systems across all their public services.
So it's operationalized.
It's intended to be a foundational layer baked into the process, not just an afterthought or a checklist ticked at the end.
And how is that translating to the citizen experience according to their own report? Are people feeling it?
Well, the Dubai State of AI report indicates a significant direct impact. It says 48%, nearly half of the reported AI use cases, directly affect citizen-facing services.
Like what specifically?
Things like AI for customer care, personalizing service delivery based on individual needs, and providing content in multiple languages to cater to their diverse population.
It really sounds like Dubai's operational scale and trying to deploy AI responsibly offers some valuable lessons for other governments globally.
It does seem that way. The sources argue that Dubai's experience, especially because they have such a diverse population,
Right.
gives them a unique global perspective on AI governance that's rooted in actually doing things, in action and ambition, while still trying to keep those ethical frameworks front and center.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit and look under the hood. Because none of this amazing progress, none of these agents or smart cities is possible without the foundational technology, the hardware.
Absolute fundamental, the engine room.
Exactly. And our sources include insights from Anastasia Nasova, who sounds like the perfect person to guide us here. Her background's in semiconductors, right? And she has that Anastasia in tech platform.
Yeah, she's highlighted as a tech entrepreneur and a real thought leader, apparently with over a decade in the semiconductor industry, including time at Infineon.
Okay, so she knows her stuff.
Seems so. Her podcast and YouTube channel are noted for doing these deep dives into hardware innovations, especially around AI.
So what does she identify as the key hardware advancements we should be watching? The kind of things poised to become the next big successors in the semiconductor market.
She points to three main areas, according to the material. First, the next generation of transistors and architectures.
Okay.
We're currently seeing the transition from FinFET transistors, which have been the standard, to gate-all-around or GAA transistors.
GAA.
Yeah, they're entering high-volume manufacturing now and offer big leaps in efficiency.
In looking even further ahead.
Beyond GAA, she mentions vertical transistor technology, things like CFET devices.
Vertical, so stacking them.
Essentially, yeah. Expected to become mainstream maybe later this decade, the idea is stacking them reduces the footprint and allows for next-level performance.
Wow, okay. Stacking transistors. What's the second key area she points to?
New materials for the post-silicon era.
Post-silicon. Because silicon is hitting limits.
Pretty much. As silicon approaches its physical limits for how small and efficient we can make things, researchers are actively exploring alternatives.
Like what?
Materials like graphene, transition metal dechalcogenides, or TMDs for short,
Okay.
and even things like bismuth-based compounds. These are mostly still in the research phase, the sources say, but they're crucial for the long-term future of chip design.
Got it. And the third area, you mentioned power electronics earlier.
Right, and this sounds maybe less glamorous than tiny transistors, but is absolutely essential, especially with how much power AI demands.
Yeah, the energy consumption is a huge issue.
Totally. So this area involves wide bandgap semiconductors, materials like silicon carbide, 6-shear, and gallium nitride, GaN.
6 and GaN. Okay.
They are far, far more efficient at handling electricity, especially high power levels, critical for things like electric vehicles, solar inverters, and of course the massive data centers that AI relies on.
And she noted Europe has strengths here.
Yeah, she specifically notes Europe, and companies like Infineon are actually global leaders in this particular power electronics area.
That's interesting. Now, speaking of energy, those demands from AI workloads and data centers are just getting bigger and bigger. Is there a hardware solution emerging specifically to tackle that energy problem, according to her?
Yes, and this is really fascinating. Photonic chips.
Computing with light.
Exactly. Computing using photons, particles of light, instead of electrons. The big advantage. By eliminating the resistive losses you get when electrons flow through wires.
Which generates heat and wastes energy.
Right. Photonic chips could potentially drastically reduce energy consumption compared to traditional electronics.
Is anyone doing this seriously?
She specifically highlights QANT, a German photonics company, as tackling this exact problem. The source frames them as solving the right problem in the right way at the right time.
So light-based computing could be a critical piece of the puzzle for making AI growth sustainable.
That's the potential. Yeah, a big potential solution to the energy bottleneck.
And did she have any specific advice for governments like Germany's on how to support this kind of tech infrastructure?
She did. Her advice, as reported, is clear. You need to heavily support research and development in these areas.
Okay.
You need to formulate clear ethical guidelines for AI alongside the tech development. And, crucially, Europe needs to take an active, formative role in shaping international standards.
I'll just follow along.
Exactly. For Europe to be competitive in the global AI economy, she believes it needs to be a proactive player in setting the rules and standards, not just adopting what others create.
Okay, so moving from that really deep foundational hardware level to practical application, especially in traditional sectors. The sources feature Aloy's GmbH. They're a Berlin-based industrial AI startup.
That's right. And their approach is described as very pragmatic, very down-to-earth.
What's their core idea?
Their focus is on modernizing global manufacturing, but without demanding that companies do these radical, expensive overhauls of their factories.
Okay, so not rip and replace.
No. Their philosophy, and the material quotes this directly, is industrial AI shouldn't start with the machine of the future. It should start with the one already on your floor.
I like that. Work with what you've got.
Exactly. They aim to translate the existing expertise of the people working there into data-driven AI intelligence, but using the current production lines.
That sounds much more accessible, especially for, established companies, maybe smaller ones. How do they actually do it? What's the tech?
They use a modular, easy-to-deploy system, and sources offer this great analogy.
Oh, yeah.
Think of it like a smart TV HDMI dongle. You plug it into your old TV, and just like that, it becomes a smart TV. It's the same with us.
Ah, okay, I get that. So what's the dongle for the factory?
It involves a compact hardware box, some
Yeah.
plug-and-play sensors you attach to the existing machines to capture processed data.
Right.
Then they use the cloud to train the specific AI model needed for that process. And here's the key part. They then deploy that trained AI agent back onto the edge device, the little box on the factory floor, so it could directly help control or optimize production in real time.
And it connects to their data platform.
Yeah, it's all supported by what they call the Aloy's Digital Manufacturing Dataverse, or ADMD.
That dongle analogy really makes it click. Have they actually seen tangible results with this approach? Does it work?
Seems so. The sources highlight a couple of pretty impressive case studies.
Okay.
One is a collaboration with JR Energy Solution, a lithium-ion battery manufacturer. They used Aloy's digital twin platform and AI models to help optimize battery development, aiming for more sustainable manufacturing.
Interesting. And there was another one about copper wire. Kieselstein.
Yeah, that one is particularly striking. They worked with Kieselstein International on producing copper wire, specifically using recycled copper.
Which is tricky, right? Because recycled materials can be inconsistent.
Exactly. The properties aren't always uniform. But Aloy's AI agents, running on the edge device, could take in real-time sensor data about the material and provide instant data-driven instructions to the machine operators.
And the result?
A 30% increase in the wire drawing speed.
30% with no new machines.
With zero hardware upgrades required on the existing equipment, that's a really powerful demonstration of optimizing what's already there just by adding intelligence.
That's impressive. And their focus is specifically on small and medium-sized companies, the middle stand.
Yes, the middle stand's Unternehmen, as the sources mention, is their core target. These are often the backbone of manufacturing economies, but maybe don't have huge budgets for complete digital overhauls.
Makes sense. Do the sources mention their future plans?
They do. Plans like launching even more compact edge devices expected around Q2 2026 that apparently won't even need cloud reliance for deployment, making it even easier for some companies.
Okay.
And also expanding into new industries, new verticals like CNC machining, helping optimize EV supply chains, working on green steel and alloy innovation, and even improving recycling and remanufacturing processes.
So they really represent what the sources called quiet excellence, measurable change.
I think that sums it up well. It's
Mhm.
about delivering concrete performance improvements through these intelligent, incremental upgrades that respect the existing systems. Less buzzwords, more results. And apparently you can see them at GITEX Europe 2025 showcasing this.
Okay, now let's pivot to a frontier that feels, well, both incredibly exciting and, frankly, potentially unsettling. Brain-computer interfaces. BCIs.
Oh, big topic.
The sources describe this area as significant, rapidly developing, and yeah, quite controversial. What's the basic idea?
Well, at its core, a BCI is a technology aiming to create a direct communication pathway between the human brain and an external device, like a computer or a prosthetic limb.
How does it work? Magic.
Not quite magic.
Mm-hmm.
It works by detecting the electrical signals the brain naturally produces. This can be done non-invasively using sensors on the scalp like an EEG cap,
Okay.
or more invasively using tiny electrodes implanted directly into or onto the brain tissue. These signals are then decoded to understand the user's intent, allowing them to control devices.
So it reads brain signals. Can it also write signals to the brain?
Yes, that's the other side of it.
Yeah.
Some BCIs are being developed to send signals back into the brain. Currently, this is primarily explored for therapeutic uses like deep brain stimulation for Parkinson's or depression.
Right. But the sources emphasize writing doesn't mean what we might think from sci-fi.
Exactly. It's important to understand, as the sources point out, that writing to the brain currently doesn't mean uploading complex information, skills, or code directly into your thoughts. We still don't really understand the brain's own programming language well enough for that. It's much more about targeted stimulation for therapeutic effects right now.
Okay, so medically, clear potential applications like restoring movement or communication for people with severe paralysis.
Huge potential there, yes.
But a lot of the current buzz and maybe the controversy comes from the more ambitious non-medical goals being pursued, particularly by companies like Elon Musk's Neuralink.
Right. Neuralink is definitely highlighted in the sources for its very ambitious aim, enabling people to control computers, smartphones, or other devices purely by thought, using their implanted link chip.
And they had that demonstration with the monkey playing Pong.
Yes, the video of Pedro the monkey playing Pong, apparently using only his mind, controlling the paddle via the Neuralink implant, was certainly a powerful, maybe slightly eerie demonstration of the potential.
And they've developed a special robot for the surgery.
Yeah, they've also developed a very sophisticated surgical robot designed to implant the device's tiny electrode threads with extreme precision, avoiding blood vessels.
But these advancements, as impressive as they might be technologically, bring us face to face with some really profound ethical and philosophical questions. The sources really emphasize this part.
Absolutely huge questions. I mean, what happens to your sense of self, your identity, if a BCI could potentially influence your emotions or your behaviors?
Right. Are those feelings or actions truly yours, or are they being driven by the technology? It gets blurry.
Very blurry. The sources raise concrete legal questions, too. Does a BCI become legally part of you? Who owns the device? Who is liable if it malfunctions and causes harm?
And data privacy must be a massive concern here.
Paramount. BCI data is arguably the most intimate data imaginable, direct insights into thoughts, emotions, intentions. The risk of misuse, like for highly targeted manipulative neuromarketing or even deliberate thought influence. It's a serious concern raised in the material.
And there's a significant geopolitical dimension to this as well, isn't there? It's not just about individual ethics.
A critical dimension, according to the sources. They specifically call out China's move at the end of 2024. Apparently, China officially integrated the use of AI for evaluating human biodata, potentially including brain data down the line, into its national AI strategy.
Wow.
This raises major concerns internationally about privacy, freedom of thought, and potential government overreach. China has also stated its intent to promote BCI for non-medical purposes, which could open the door to expanded citizen monitoring or control.
So BCI development isn't just a tech race anymore. It's become part of the global competition for AI supremacy.
It seems so. The sources note the U.S. and China are currently leading in patenting BCI technologies, making it a new front in that broader technological competition.
Where does that leave Europe, according to the sources?
Europe is described as currently having a more cautious, maybe wait-and-see approach. But the sources stress an urgent need for a clear European strategy
To do what?
to protect citizen sovereignty, protect the fundamental freedoms of its citizens, and avoid becoming dependent on BCI technologies developed under very different ethical or political frameworks elsewhere.
It sounds like the overall message from the sources is pushing for a very deliberate, very careful approach here.
Extremely careful. The call is urgent for an informed public debate. We need to talk about this openly. We need clear, well-thought-out regulation that manages to protect privacy and freedom while still allowing beneficial innovation to proceed.
That's a tough balance.
A very tough balance. And also, international cooperation is seen as vital. They mention UNESCO's work in developing a global document on neurotechnology regulation. The idea is to navigate these challenges responsibly, together, especially as BCI moves beyond purely medical uses into enhancing healthy individuals. That's where the biggest ethical hurdles lie.
So just stepping back for a moment, our sources, especially that GITEX Europe special issue, really show how interconnected all these different developments are. It's not just agents or hardware or BCIs in isolation.
That's very true. They touch on a much wider AI ecosystem, showing how broad the conversations are.
Yeah, like mentions of events such as the AI for Good Global Summit.
Right. Highlighting projects focused on social impact, sustainability, ethical innovation. They have awards, startup support, even things exploring AI and art or youth development.
And cybersecurity, of course, is a massive theme running through it all.
Absolutely. Discussions around how hackers are now leveraging AI and deepfakes.
The threats.
But also, on the flip side, how AI agents and things like behavioral AI are being used against cyber threats. For instance, to modernize email data loss prevention or tackle sophisticated identity fraud.
There was also a concerning note about eroding trust in consumer messaging apps.
Yeah, due to espionage tactics being amplified by AI. That's another angle.
And beyond security, other big picture topics pop up.
Definitely. Things like venture capital in the age of AI, how funding is changing, the challenges, the role of policy in fostering VC growth, tackling the digital divide, not just in terms of having internet access, but the divide in strategy and skills to actually use these technologies effectively. These are all part of the landscape discussed in panels mentioned in the sources.
And just the sheer volume of AI tools being developed across practically every category you can think of: chat, code generation, art, video, audio. It's just an explosion.
It really is. And there was that one specific kind of interesting detail in the sources about the estimated energy consumption of these tools.
Oh, yeah. What was that again?
They estimated the monthly power consumption of just the top 50 AI tools being used in Europe as of February 2025 was roughly 0.034% of the total EU electricity consumption back in 2022.
0.034%. Okay, so that sounds tiny on its own.
It does sound tiny now,
Yeah.
but it's for only 50 tools, and it's a snapshot in time. This is an interesting little data point that hints at the growing energy footprint these technologies collectively bring, linking back to the hardware discussion about efficiency.
Right, all of which really underscores the point that events like GITEX Europe serve as these central meeting points, these hubs, bringing together all these diverse tracks: AI, everything, quantum computing, green digital action, manufacturing tech.
It's a snapshot of a world being rapidly, fundamentally reshaped by AI from multiple angles all at once.
So, okay, let's try to synthesize what we've learned from this deep dive into these sources. It feels like quite a journey.
It really does.
We've journeyed through the rapid evolution of AI itself, seeing it move from being essentially a responsive tool you have to carefully prompt,
Right, mastering that initial interaction.
to becoming these genuinely autonomous agents, and now even coordinating swarms of agents working together.
And we've explored its transformative impact. We look closely at how it's actively reshaping governments and cities, using Dubai as a really prominent leading example from the sources, and also how it's bringing measurable change to traditional manufacturing sectors through innovative startups like Alloys, working with existing infrastructure.
And we definitely looked under the hood at the foundational hardware that's making all this possible, from the next generation of transistors and new materials,
Like GAA, maybe CAFE down the line.
to the critical developments in power electronics and the really intriguing potential of photonic chips to tackle those huge energy demands.
And crucially, I think, we also grappled with those profound ethical, philosophical, and even geopolitical questions raised by frontier technologies like brain-computer interfaces.
Yeah, understanding that urgent need for really careful public discussion, smart regulation, and international cooperation as these technologies advance.
It's not just about can we build it, but should we and how.
Exactly. So you've taken this deep dive with us, hopefully gaining some curated insights into how these powerful forces aren't just abstract concepts being discussed in labs or boardrooms.
No, they're actively reshaping economies, societies, the future of work.
And potentially even touching on the future of human consciousness and interaction itself when you look at things like BCI.
Which brings us, I guess, to a final provocative thought for you, the listener, to consider, based on this whole trajectory outlined in the sources we've explored.
Okay, let's hear it.
Given this rapid rise of autonomous AI agents and this burgeoning agentic economy that the sources describe growing incredibly fast, how will your role, whatever that may be, whether you're a citizen interacting with new government services, a professional in any field, a creative, or simply someone navigating the world, how will your role need to adapt? How will you learn to collaborate with, or perhaps even guide, systems that can increasingly learn, decide, and act on their own?
That's a big question to chew on. Collaborating with or guiding autonomous systems, how do we prepare for that?
This and more on our current edition podcast. Watch out for more as we going to deliver the cutting edge news in the tech scene internationally from AIMAG.
Looks like he's back once again. Don't mess with the man. Just like the Blues Brother, he's on a mission from God, and like always, he's gonna take out some of the superstar. Came to bless humanity with this daily test. Refuse or deny to work for the Lord, and you already know what you end up like if this how he treats his own child. Lord have mercy. We born into this wild loop. Rescue you. AIMAG. Rescue me. AIMAG. Even though kimchi can help digest, for the real feel, the hero sequel that overcomes death, defeats cancer, or any other chance for creation, co-variation, or DNA theft. Stone cold dying all the time to get the best, for the best. Allegory race of competing interest. Substrate test, the West the best. Even though kimchi can help digest, join the team if you what I mean. We shall overcome. Mission complete. For now, we done. Hallelujah. Mighty Lord forever. Heaven superstar. Came to bless humanity with this daily test. Refuse to deny the work